Hello friends! In this video we will download the IDE that we will use to develop Android mobile applications, namely Android Studio, and do the necessary installation procedures. Android Studio is a completely free platform. It can be downloaded and used by anyone. I also want to explain what an IDE is here. IDE is a software application that combines all the features and tools needed by a software developer. A developer may debug, run, and test applications with IDE. Because it provides useful debugging and testing features, IDE helps us quickly navigate to a type without needing to worry about our projects. It also provides auto-completion, which means you type part of a function or class name and press a shortcut combination, and the rest of the name is automatically typed. All these features are good reasons for you to prefer an IDE.
The most used IDEs for Java are Android Studio and IntelliJ. I prefer Android Studio, so I'm going to introduce Android Studio to you, and I'm going to write Java programs on Android Studio during this course.
Before proceeding with the installation of Android Studio, I should mention that the installation of Android Studio is the same for Mac and Windows operating systems. Therefore, I did not need to separate video recordings for both operating systems. You can successfully install Android Studio by watching this video. If you still have a question, don't hesitate to share it with us. If you want, let's do the necessary steps to download Android Studio now. First, we open a browser. In the search bar, we write Android Studio Download and press Enter. After pressing the Enter key, I open the first of the results, namely the Download Android Studio and SDK Tools site. If you pay attention, this site is the developer.android.com site. This site is a site that Android developers must follow, friends. You can follow the latest developments, updates, and documentation required to develop applications for Android here. Alright, we can now proceed with the download. Here is the most up-to-date version of Android Studio, friends. Of course, I should point this out here. Android Studio is constantly updating itself. While I was creating this video, the most up-to-date version is Android Studio Electric Eel. This version may be different for you, but the download and installation processes of Android Studio are always the same. So if you see a different version here, you don't have to worry. By following the steps I will explain now, you can perform the download and installation processes. Of course, before proceeding with the installation process, I would like to show you the Android Studio system requirements. At the end of this page is the system requirements section. By reviewing this section, you can find out whether the computer you are using is sufficient for Android Studio. If your computer does not meet the specifications here, you can buy a new computer or, if possible, change some of your computer's features. For example, if your computer has 4 GB of RAM, you can increase it to 8 GB. After this information, we can now download Android Studio. Just here, we can see the download links for Windows 64-bit, Mac 64-bit, and Linux 64-bit operating systems. If you notice, there is no such option for 32-bit operating systems, because Android Studio does not support 32-bit operating systems since version 4.0. If your operating system is 32-bit, you should download the Android Studio 3.6.3 version, which is the last version of Android Studio before 4.0. For this, we click on the Download Archives link here. From the window that opens, we need to accept the relevant contract terms. For this, I click the I agree to the terms button. As you can see, we have thus accessed all versions of Android Studio. From here, you can find the 3.6.3 version of Android Studio. Okay, it is here. You can use the download link required for 32-bit operating systems. Okay, friends, we can now start the download process. I will open the previous page. Since my computer's operating system is Windows 64-bit, I will download the appropriate Android Studio. Click on the file with the extension .x here. In order to download Android Studio, we need to accept the terms of the contract. After confirming the checkbox here, the button we will use to download Android Studio becomes active. Clicking this button will start the download process. I click the button, As you can see, the download has started. Of course, the download process may take a little longer depending on your internet speed. I'm speeding up this part. Yes, guys, the download is complete. I click on the arrow icon to the right of the downloaded file and select the Show in Folder option so we can view the file downloaded. Let's double-click this file. At this stage, the Windows operating system gives a warning such as, do you want to run this file? Or, do you allow this application to make changes to your computer? You have to confirm this warning. This warning may not appear for you. It's not important. Thus, the installation screen was opened. Here I click on the Next button. Once again, I click the Next button. Indicates the location where the Android Studio will be created. That's why I click the Next button once again without making any changes. Here it asks if we can create a shortcut for Android Studio. I want it to create a shortcut. If you don't want a shortcut, you have to confirm the checkbox here. I will not make any changes. Now we can start the installation process. Clicking the Install button here will start the installation process. As you can see, the installation process has started. This process may take some time. I'm speeding up this process. Yes, the installation process is complete. Now I click the Next button. It states that the installation process of Android Studio is complete. If we want to start the Android Studio after the installation process, we need to check this checkbox. I will uncheck this, and we will start the Android Studio together. I click the Finish button. Thus, we have completed the necessary installation process. In fact, this was the pre-installation of Android Studio. We haven't completed the installation of Android Studio yet, so we still need to install the SDK, but let's do that in the next lesson.